The rain-slicked bridge trembled under the wail of sirens, and I watched my husband, Liam, collapse to his knees as if the world had just gutted him alive. "Lucas," he whispered, his voice cracking like thunder over Puget Sound, reaching for a ghost who was already plummeting into the ink-black water below. In that frozen instant, as the crowd surged and the medics swarmed, I realized our vows, whispered under cherry blossoms in a Seattle park 5 years ago, were about to drown in a secret tide neither of us saw coming. I gripped the steering wheel of our old Subaru, knuckles white against the downpour hammering the windshield like accusations. It was a Tuesday in late October, the kind of Seattle gray that seeps into your bones, and Liam had been late coming home from the architect firm again. Not unusual. Deadlines for that waterfront condo project had him burning the midnight oil, but tonight, his text had been clipped, running errand. Home soon. When the call came through from an unknown number, I almost let it go to voicemail, figuring it was some solicitor peddling solar panels in this eternally overcast city. "Mr. Harper." The voice on the other end was clipped, official, laced with the flat urgency of first responders. "This is Officer Ramirez with the Seattle PD. We're at the Aurora Bridge. Your husband. He's here. It's about Lucas Hale." My stomach dropped like the elevator in our downtown high-rise. Lucas. The name I'd buried deeper than the roots of the madronas shading our backyard in Capitol Hill. Liam's college ex. The one who'd ghosted him senior year at UW, leaving scars that festered quietly under our marriage's polished surface. We talked about him once, over cheap bourbon on our anniversary. Liam's eyes distant as he said, "Ancient history, Alex. You're mine now, but history has a way of resurfacing, doesn't it? Like driftwood washed up after a storm." I floored it, hydroplaning through the rain-snarled traffic on I-5, the Space Needle's lights blurring into neon smears. By the time I reached the bridge, its iconic suicide span lit up like a crime scene under flashing reds and blues. Cops had cordoned off the lanes. I parked crookedly on the shoulder and sprinted through the sheets of rain, my hoodie soaking through in seconds. That's when I saw him, Liam, on his knees in the gravel, oblivious to the wet seeping into his slacks, his broad shoulders heaving as a paramedic tried to drape a blanket over him. "Liam," my voice cut through the chaos, raw and desperate. He looked up, his face a mask of devastation, those hazel eyes, usually sparkling with that boyish mischief that first hooked me at a Pride Parade meetup, now hollowed out like storm-eroded cliffs. "Alex." He reached for me, but his hand fell limp. He jumped. "Lucas." He just... God, I saw it. He looked right at me before what? The words hung there, unfinished, as a diver's splash echoed faintly from the water below. The cop, Ramirez, badge glinting, pulled me aside, murmuring about a welfare check gone wrong, how Lucas had been spotted pacing the railing, phone in hand, and Liam had arrived just in time to witness the fall. "Your husband knew him?" Ramirez asked, pen poised over a notepad. "Yeah," I said, throat tight. "Old friend. From college." But it wasn't just friendship. I knew that much from the fragments Liam had let slip over lazy Sunday brunches at Elliott Bay Cafe, late-night confessions in dorm rooms, stolen kisses behind frat houses, a love that burned bright and brief before Lucas bailed for grad school in Boston, chasing some dream of becoming a hotshot journalist. Liam had mourned him quietly for years, channeling it into blueprints and sketches, until I came along with my barista charm and a laugh that could chase away rain clouds. They recovered the body by dawn, fished from the sound's chilly embrace near a pod of orcus that, according to the news chopper buzzing overhead, had been sighted that morning, as if nature itself was mocking the tragedy. Liam refused the hospital, insisted on driving home with me, his hands shaking on the dash the whole way. We didn't speak. What was there to say? Our queen and Victorian, with its creaky oak floors and bay windows overlooking Lake Union, felt like a tomb when we stumbled inside. He showered for an hour, emerging pale and pruned, then curled into the armchair by the fireplace, unlit, because neither of us had the energy to flip the switch. I brewed coffee, strong and black, the way he liked it, and sat on the ottoman across from him. "Talk to me," I said softly, tracing the frayed hem of my jeans. "What happened out there? Why were you even on the bridge?" He stared at the floor, jaw clenched. "He called me last night. Said he needed to see me. That it was important." A pause, heavy as lead. I thought it was about closure. We hadn't spoken in 15 years? More. 15 years. We'd been married 5. That left a decade of our life together where Liam carried this shadow solo. I swallowed the bitterness rising in my chest. Not jealousy, not exactly, but a grief for the pieces of him I'd never touched. "And you went? Just like that?" He sounded lost. "Alex, you should have heard him." Liam's voice broke, and he buried his face in his hands. I parked, walked up, and there he was, leaning on the rail like he owned the damn thing. We talked about nothing, really. Old times. The Mariners' losing streak. Then he said, "I can't do this anymore," and before I could grab him, the image clawed at me. Liam, extending a hand too late, the wind whipping Lucas's coat like a shroud. I moved to him then, kneeling to pull him into my arms. He clung like a man adrift, sobs muffled against my shoulder. We stayed like that until the sky lightened to pearl gray, the rain easing to a drizzle that tapped Morse code on the roof. The days blurred into a fog of funeral arrangements and condolences. Lucas's parents, flown in from Philly, were stoics in starched suits, thanking Liam with tight-lipped grace at the memorial in a Fremont chapel. Hipster Seattle at its most somber, with craft IPAs swapped for herbal tea. I stood beside him, hand in his, feeling like an intruder in a story I hadn't been invited to. Whispers rippled through the crowd. They were so close back then. What brought him back? Liam fielded it all with numb nods. But at night, he'd wake gasping, sheets tangled, murmuring Lucas's name like a prayer gone sour. I tried to anchor us. Cooked his favorite salmon from Pike Place, grilled with lemon and dill, but he'd pick at it, eyes distant. Our bed, once a tangle of limbs and laughter, became a vast, empty sea. "I'm here," I'd whisper, tracing the tattoos on his forearms. A compass rose for direction, a lighthouse for home. But grief is a thief, stealing touch, turning intimacy into echoes. One evening, as November's chill bit deeper, I found the letter, tucked in Liam's briefcase, half buried under blueprints for that condo tower rising like a glass monolith downtown. Plain envelope, Lucas's handwriting loopy, urgent, addressed to my lighthouse. My hands trembled as I slid it open, justifying it as worry, as love. "Liam, if you're reading this, I'm gone. Not because of you, never that. but because the lies I told to leave you ate me hollow. I didn't go to Boston for school. I ran. From us. From the truth that loving you terrified me more than any deadline or byline. You were my light, but I was afraid of burning out in it. Forgive me, but don't forget. Live the life I couldn't. Always, Lucas. The paper blurred through my tears. Betrayal? Not from Liam, from the past itself, rearing up to claim what it thought was owed. I folded it away, heart pounding, and when Liam came home smelling of sawdust and stress, I didn't mention it. Not yet. Instead, I poured us wine from that Napa Valley bottle we'd saved for better days, and raised a glass. To truths, I said, clinking his. He smiled faintly, the first real one in weeks, but his eyes held storms yet to break. We walked that night along the Burke-Gilman Trail, leaves crunching underfoot, the canals water black as ink. He talked, haltingly at first, about Lucas's laugh, how it could fill a room like sunlight through evergreens. About the night they met at a Husky game tailgate, cheap beer and dreams of building cities that didn't crush souls. I listened, letting the words weave between us like threads in a fraying tapestry. For the first time since the bridge, he reached for my hand without hesitation, squeezing as if to say, "You're still my shore." But as we turned homeward, my phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number. "Ask your husband why Lucas really called." My blood ran cold. Who? How? The past wasn't done with us. Not by a long shot. The text gnawed at me through dinner, a splinter under my skin. I plated pasta, simple carbonara, bacon from the local butcher on Broadway, watching Liam twirl his fork absently, lost in the steam rising like ghosts. Our dining nook, with its mismatched thrift store chairs and the fern we'd named Fernie after a tipsy argument, felt smaller, walls closing in. "Good day at the site?" I asked, forcing casual, the way you do when the ground's shifting under your feet. He shrugged, that easy architect's nonchalance masking deeper currents. Pouring again. Foundations holding, though. Like us. He winked, but it didn't land. I nodded, sipping Chianti, the anonymous message burning a hole in my pocket. "Ask your husband why Lucas really called." It could have been a cruel prank. Seattle's underbelly had its share of trolls, especially in the wake of a public tragedy. But the timing? Too sharp, too pointed. That night, as Liam snored softly beside me, exhaustion finally claiming him, I slipped into the living room, phone in hand. No caller ID, just that single barb. I typed back, "Who is this?" Minutes ticked by, the clock on the mantel chiming midnight like a warning bell. Then, someone who knows the truth. "Meet me tomorrow. Gas Works Park. Noon. Come alone." Gas Works. The old gasification plant turned relic, its rusting towers silhouetted against the lake like industrial sentinels. I proposed to Liam there, on a picnic blanket under the cherry blossoms, the city sprawl humming distant approval. Romantic then, ominous now. I deleted the thread, heart hammering, and crawled back to bed, curling against Liam's warmth. He stirred, murmuring my name, and for a moment, the world righted itself. Morning brought false clarity, sun slicing through clouds, rare as a politician's promise. I kissed Liam goodbye at the door, his lips tasting of coffee and faint stubble, muttering about errands. "Love you," he called, already scrolling emails. "Be safe." The park was alive with joggers and dog walkers when I arrived. The great kite hill dotted with families launching colors against the blue. I scanned the benches near the sundial, that massive steel beast frozen in time. A figure detached from the shadows of the south slag heap. Mid-40s, wiry build, salt and pepper hair under a mariner's cap. He wore a faded flannel that screamed PNW native, hands jammed in pockets as he approached. "You're Alex," he said, not a question. Voice gravelly, like he'd smoked one too many at last call. "And you are, call me Dan. Lucas's editor. Freelance gigs. Mostly tech rags. That sort of thing." He glanced around, paranoid flick of eyes. "He worked for me off and on. Last project was a piece on urban isolation. Seattle's underbelly, suicides spiking post-pandemic. Poetic. Ha! I crossed my arms, wind whipping off the water. Cut the poetry. What's this about Liam?" Dan pulled a crumpled pack of smokes from his pocket, lit one with a Zippo that clicked like judgment. "Lucas reached out a month ago. Said he was circling the drain, metaphorically, then. Wanted to interview your hubby for the story. Personal angle, he called it. Old flames, second chances, the American dream gone queer and queerer." My pulse thrummed. "And Liam knew about the article." He exhaled smoke in a dragon's breath. "They met up. Coffee in Belltown, then again at your place, I think. Lucas mentioned a dinner. Like old times," he said. But it wasn't just nostalgia. He was digging about how grief lingers, how exes haunt marriages. "Your marriage, dinner, at our place," the carbonara curdled in my memory. Liam had claimed a late client meet that Thursday, come home with takeout from Ivor's, smelling of salt air and lies. "He betrayed me," I whispered, more to the wind than Dan. "Nah. Lucas was the betrayer. Always was." Dan stubbed the cig under his boot. "Found his notes after. Drafts, voice memos. He planned the jump weeks ago, bridge as backdrop, Liam as witness. Theatrics. But the kicker? He left something for you too. A flash drive. In his locker at the Times freelance bullpen. Said it'd set things right." I stared at him, the park's whimsy mocking my unraveling. "Why tell me?" "Because Lucas owed you that much. And because your man's drowning in guilt that ain't his." He handed me a key on a ring tiny, labeled LH-47, and walked away, dissolving into the crowd like fog. Back home, I paced the kitchen, key fisted in my palm. Confront Liam? With what suspicions dressed as facts? The letter burned in my mind, the lies I told to leave you. What if Lucas's truth was poison, designed to fracture us further? I hid the key in the junk drawer, amid takeout menus and spare batteries, and when Liam breezed in that evening, flour dusted from a baking class impulse, grinning with rare light, I played the part. Laughed at his lopsided sourdough. Let him pull me onto the couch for a movie. When Harry Met Sally, because rom-coms were our armor. But as Billy Crystal quipped about soulmates, my mind wandered to flash drives and shadows. Halfway through, Liam paused the film, turning to me with that earnest gaze. "Alex, I've been shit. Distant. But therapy starts next week. Group for survivors. I need to unpack this. Survivors." The word landed like a lifeline. "I'm proud of you," I said, meaning it. We made love then, slow, tentative, reclaiming the sheets with whispers and touches that spoke of forgiveness unspoken. His body against mine, solid as the Cascades, reminded me why we'd fought for this. Two gay kids from straight-laced suburbs, building a life in a city that embraced us warts and all. Yet dawn brought the itch back. I called in sick to the coffee roastery, my gig sourcing beans for indie shops, and drove to the Seattle Times building, that gleaming fortress in South Lake Union. The freelance locker room was a warren of dented metal and flickering fluorescence, smelling of ink and instant ramen. Locker 47 yielded easy, a battered drive, labeled for L&A in Sharpie. I plugged it into my laptop at a cafe on First Avenue, steam from my latte fogging the screen. Files bloomed, audio clips, drafts, photos. The first track, Lucas's voice, ragged. Entry 17. Liam came over tonight. God, he looks good older, but that smile. We talked for hours. About Alex. How steady he is. I envied it. Told Liam I was sorry. For running. He forgave me. Easy as breathing. But I can't stay. The city's eating me, and I'm not built for happy endings. Photos next. Candids from their dinner. Liam laughing over wine at our table. Lucas across from him, eyes alight with something feral. Then our wedding pic, pulled from social media, annotated. This is what I lost. What he gained. Betrayal twisted like a knife. Not Liam's infidelity, but Lucas's obsession. A ghost puppeteering from afar. The final file, a video. Lucas on the bridge. Pre-jump. Camera propped on the rail. Liam. Alex, if you see this, know I loved him enough to let go. But not without one last spark. The truth? I never stopped. And now, neither will you. The screen went black. My coffee turned to ash in my mouth. Spark? What did that mean? I ejected the drive, pulse roaring, and stepped into the street just as a bike courier swerved. Horns blared, world tilting. I stumbled back, gasping, the city alive around me while my marriage teetered on revelations I wasn't ready to voice. That night, Liam sensed the shift. Over takeout pho from the spot on Pike Pine, he probed gently. You okay? Seem off. Just tired. I lied. Chopsticks trembling. But as we cleared plates, the dam cracked. Liam. Did Lucas ever mention a story? An article? His fork paused midair. What? About us? About grief. The words tumbled out. The drive clutched in my fist under the table. He paled, setting down his bowl. Alex. The doorbell rang, sharp as a guillotine. Through the peephole, Dan, rain-slicked, eyes wild. We got a problem. Lucas's parents found something. It's bad. Dan burst in like a squall, dripping on our entry rug. His mariner's cap clutched like a talisman. Sorry for the drop-in, he muttered, but his eyes darted to Liam, accusatory flickers in the lamplight. This involves you both. Liam stiffened beside me, arm brushing mine in silent solidarity. What now? The memorial was last week. Isn't that enough? Dan snorted, shaking off water like a dog. Lucas's folks cleaned out his apartment in Ballard. Found emails. Drafts. The whole damn archive. He pulled a manila folder from his jacket, sodden but intact, slapping it on the coffee table amid coasters and remotes. Your ex was playing a long game, Kid. I flipped it open. Heart in my throat. Printouts. Timestamps from months back. Lucas to Liam, miss you. Coffee. Escalating to need to see you. Secrets. Then attachments. Screenshots of our life. Pilfered from Instagram. Me and Liam at Pride. Rainbows on our cheeks. Hiking Rattlesnake Ledge. Sweat slicked and grinning. Notes in margins. Target acquired. Draw him in. Target. Liam's voice was ice. Hands fisting at his sides. What the hell is this? Dan lit another smoke. Ignoring the no smoking sign by the door, Seattle's passive rebellion. Lucas pitched me the piece as redemption arc. Prodigal queer returns. Men's fences. But privately, it was obsession. He stalked your feeds. Hacked an old shared album from college. Wanted to reclaim you. Make you see the error of settling. Settle. The word stung, implying our marriage was consolation prize. I glanced at Liam, his face ashen, the compass tattoo peeking from his sleeve like a plea for bearings. You met him how many times? I asked, voice steady by sheer will. Twice. Coffee, then dinner here. He met my eyes, pleading. It was closure, Alex. He apologized for leaving, for everything. Said he was struggling, post-divorce from his wife. Yeah, he went straight for a decade. Thought it'd fix him. I listened. That's all. Dan cleared his throat. Bullshit. Emails say he confessed love, begged for a second chance. You turned him down, gently, like the golden boy you are, but he spiraled. The jump? Staged theater. Blamed you in his suicide note to his parents. Called you the reason he couldn't move on. Liam recoiled as if slapped. That's insane. I told him to get help, to call a hotline. I even offered to drive him to a clinic. And he refused. I touched his arm, grounding us both. The folder's contents swirled. A narrative spun from half-truths. Lucas casting himself as tragic hero. Us as villains in his queer tragedy. But why the emails to you? Why not just talk? Because talking wasn't dramatic enough. Dan stubbed his cig in a saucer. Unapologetic. He was a storyteller, rotten at living his own plot. Left this for you. He slid over a USB, different from mine, labeled confession and stood. Read it. Then decide if you want the cops involved. Harassment? Maybe. Stalking posthumously, messy, but possible. The door clicked shut behind him, leaving silence thick as fog off the sound. Liam and I stared at the drive, the folder's pages fluttering in the AC's breath. Alex, he started, voice small. I swear. I know. And I did. The man who'd vowed forever under those cherry trees wasn't a cheater. He was human, pulled by tides of old loyalty. But trust? That was flotsam now, bobbing uncertain. Let's see it together. We plugged it into the TV, our ancient flat screen, relic from Black Friday deals, and hit play. Lucas filled the screen, gaunt, ice fever bright, filmed in what looked like his cramped studio, posters of Kerouac and Ginsberg peeling from cinderblock walls. Liam. Alex, by now, you hate me. Good. I deserve it. This is my mea culpa. Unedited. He leaned into the camera, breath ragged. I lied to leave you, Liam. Told you Boston was dreams. Truth? Panicked. We were too young, too out in a world still half-closeted. I married Ellen to prove I was normal, Birthed a kid to seal it. Divorced when the facade cracked. Came back to Seattle broke. Jobless. Chasing bylines that never came. Saw your posts. Happy. Hitched. Whole. It gutted me. Pause. He sipped from a flask. Whiskey's amber glint. So I schemed. The article was cover. Dinners to remind you of us. The bridge. Climax. If you rejected me, I'd exit dramatically. Haunt your conscience. Selfish? Beyond. But love twists us. Doesn't it? Queer love especially. Fought for. Then fragile. The video cut to montages are photos. Narrated. Alex Harper. Barista with a poet's soul. Roasts beans like he roasts Liam's flaws. Gentle. Essential. You saved him from me. Then Liam. Sketches of his face. Tender. My lighthouse. Forgive the storm I brought. It ended with Lucas blowing a kiss. Live. Love louder. For me. Tears tracked down my face. Liam's were silent, carving rivers on his cheeks. We sat, entwined on the couch. The city humming beyond our windows. Fairies tooting. Distant jazz from a Capitol Hill club. He was broken, Liam whispered. We all are, but not by you. I cupped his face, thumbs brushing salt. By his own script. We burned the folder in the fireplace. Finally lit. Flames devouring paper like absolution. The drive went next. Pixels to ash. No cops. This was our exorcism. But healing? That was a marathon, not a sprint. The next weeks tested us. Liam dove into therapy. Group sessions in a cozy U-District office. Sharing with other witnesses to loss. A mom whose son OD'd. A vet haunted by Baghdad. He came home lighter, quoting Rilke. Let everything happen to you. Beauty and terror. I joined him once, spilling my fears of inadequacy. How Lucas's ghost made me question if I was enough. Work became refuge. Me sourcing Ethiopian peaberries. Their floral notes a balm. Him drafting sustainable lofts. Green roofs for a city choking on concrete. We ritualized evenings, walks to the locks. Watching salmon leap like defiant hopes. Brunches at Lupanier. Croissants flaking as we planned a road trip down the Oregon coast. Waves to wash us clean. Yet shadows lingered. Anonymous texts trickled. He loved me more. Traced to Lucas's bitter ex-wife, Ellen, who'd found the emails and spun her own grief into venom. We blocked her, reported harassment, but the barbs stuck. One night, after a particularly vicious voicemail, you stole my family. Liam shattered a mug against the sink, shards scattering like accusations. I'm poison, he growled, sinking to the tile. Attract it. First Lucas. Now this. I knelt amid the wreckage, pulling him close. No. You're light. That's why they orbit. Then crash. We clean together. Hands bloodied but bonded. Superglue mending the favorite, his world's okayest architect, souvenir from a conference. Christmas approached. Seattle's lights twinkling defiant against December's gloom. We strung ours early. Rainbow bulbs on the Madrona. Ornaments from Travels, Taos Adobe. Portland food carts. Invited friends. Our circle of queers. From drag queens to software devs. Gathered for eggnog and ugly sweaters. Laughter echoed. Chasing ghosts. Toasts to new chapters rang true. But on Christmas Eve, as snow, miracle in Seattle, dusted the sill, Ellen showed up. Uninvited, bundled in a parka, eyes red-rimmed under street lamp glow. "I need to talk," she said through the door, voice cracking. Liam hesitated. I nodded. Forgiveness was our theme song. Inside, over cocoa, she spilled Lucas's lies to her, straightening up, fatherhood as cure. His return to Seattle, not just for us, but to confess to her too. A double-edged apology tour. "He broke us all," she said, clutching the mug. "But you mended him first. We talked till dawn. Shared losses, queer pains in straight worlds." She left with a hug for Liam, take care of each other, and a promise to end the harassment. Catharsis, Seattle style, rain to revelation. New Year's. We watched fireworks over the sound from Kerry Park. That postcard perch. Liam pulled me close, breath warm on my neck. To us. Unshattered, but truth's a double helix, twists yet to come. January thawed us slowly, like the first crocuses pushing through mulch in the community garden plots of Capitol Hill. Liam threw himself into the condo project, now dubbed Haven Towers, a nod to refuge, with a fervor that bordered on mania. Sustainable steel, solar arrays, queer-owned co-op spaces. He'd rave over dinner, sketching on napkins stained with pad thai from the food truck pod. I loved this fire in him, the way his hazel eyes lit like auroras. But it masked the undercurrent. Nightmares still jerked him awake, murmuring "don't jump." My own days blurred at the roastery, grinding Yurgachev, this bergamot tang a sharp reminder of life's small salvations. Customers chattered about the Super Bowl buzz, Seahawks odds dismal, but my mind wandered to Ellen's parting words. He broke us all. Was there more? Loose threads from Lucas's unraveling? The answer came mid-month, in a manila envelope postmarked Philly. No return address, just our names in block print. Inside, a slim journal, leather-bound, Lucas's script scrawled across pages yellowed like old newsprint. Tucked between a photo booth strip from UW, circa 2008, Liam and Lucas, young and flushed, arms slung casual, grins wide as the quad. I brought it home unopened, left it on the kitchen island like an unexploded ordnance. Liam found it that evening, fresh from a site visit, hard hat under arm. "What's this?" He flipped the cover, breath catching at the first entry. March 15th, 2010. Left Seattle today. Liam thinks it's for MFA at BU. Truth. Can't breathe here. His love's too big. Swallows me whole. Cowardice in a carry-on. We read in tandem, cross-legged on the living room rug, the journal a bridge to buried years. Entries spanned his straight decade. Wedding vows hollow as hotel ice buckets. His daughter's birth. Joy laced with what am I teaching her? The return to Seattle. Saw Liam's wedding announcement in the alumni mag. Gut punch. Time to atone. But deeper in. The rot. Plan forming. Infiltrate. Remind him of fire. If he chooses me, win. If not, martyr. Sketches of the bridge. Circled dates. Witness, Liam. Fallout, eternal. Liam slammed it shut halfway through, face thunderous. This is sick. He weaponized memory. I traced his knuckles, bruised from gripping the cover. It's his pain, not yours. But why send it now? His parents. A quick call to Philly confirmed. Not them. Ellen must have mailed it, his mom said. Voice weary over static. Found it in his things. Said it was your story to finish. Finish. The word echoed as we burned pages that night. Selective, cathartic, flames dancing in the hearth like fireflies at a queer hoedown. Kept the photo strip, though a relic, not a weapon. Taped it to the fridge beside our vows. A timeline of loves endured. Spring budded defiant. Daffodils in Volunteer Park. Cherry blossoms shedding petals like confetti at a dyke march. We joined a couples workshop at the center, queer therapy collective in the Central District, where facilitators in Doc Martens guided us through grief mapping. Liam plotted Lucas's arc on butcher paper. Spark to supernova to ash. I added mine. Bystander to brother in arms. It unearthed fractures. I feel guilty, Liam admitted one session, voice low amid the circle's nods. For forgiving him too easy. For letting him in. The group leader, a trans elder with silver braids, leaned in. Guilt's the tax on empathy. Honey. Pay it, then invest in joy. Joy. We chased it deliberately. Weekend in the San Juans. Kayaking emerald waters. Seals barking approval. A tattoo touch-up for me. A tiny lighthouse on my wrist. Matching his. Ink fresh. Stinging sweet. But betrayal's echo lingered in subtler ways. Liam's phone buzzed more. Colleagues checking in. But once, a blocked number slipped through. Miss our talks. L forged. Surely, but it spiked my pulse. We changed numbers. Added two-factor everything. Seattle's tech paranoia our ally. April brought climax unbidden. The article dropped. Not Lucas's, his editor. Dan pieced it together posthumously. Echoes over the sound. When old love's leap splashed across the stranger's site, anonymous sources, us, blurred. Photos of the bridge at dusk. A tale of queer longing in the Emerald City. It read, where second acts end in freefall. Rage boiled. Liam paced our deck, overlooking the lake's yacht-speckled shimmer. He profited off our pain. I scrolled comments, vicious, vitriolic. Slut-shaming the dead? Classy. Sounds like the husband's fault. Support too. Sending love to the survivors. But the exposure cracked our cocoon. That night, conflict crested. Liam, wine loose, turned on me in the kitchen haze. Did you talk to Dan? Feed him details. The accusation landed like a slap. What? No. How could you? You've been weird since the drive. Sneaking off. Questions. Like you don't trust me. His eyes, hurt-hazed, searched mine. And you? Dinner here. Confessions while I'm at work. Clueless. Words I'd swallowed surged. Bitter. I felt like the other man in my own home. Silence stretched. Taut as a high wire. Then he deflated, sliding down cabinets to the linoleum. God. Alex. I'm sorry. The guilt is a monster. Eating me from the inside. I joined him, backs to cool metal, hands finding each other in the dark. Me too. Scared you'll wake up one day, see Lucas in every shadow. Never. He pulled me close, foreheads touching. You're my constant. Compass true. We cried then. Ugly, snotty sobs that purged the poison. Slept tangled on the floor. Dawn finding us rumpled but resolute. May's warmth coaxed us outward. Pride planning. Volunteering at the fest, booths for the roastery. Liam designing rainbow banners. Amid the glitter and bass thumps on Broadway, we danced under streetlights, bodies sinking like they had at our first float. Strangers cheered. Ellen even texted well wishes. Olive branch accepted. But the journal's final pages haunted. If I go, make it mean something. Spark change. What change? Liam pondered it during runs along the waterfront, pounding pavement past the Ferris wheel spin. Maybe advocacy, he said one evening, sweat damp on the porch swing. Suicide prevention. For queer youth, like we were, the seed took root. We pitched a foundation, Lighthouse Leap resources, hotlines, art therapy in Lucas's name, but ours. First event, a vigil at the bridge, candles flickering safe on the pedestrian path, speakers sharing stories sans shame. Crowd swelled, friends, strangers, even Dan sober now, eyes clear. Liam spoke last, voice steady over the water's lap. Loss isn't linear. It's a loop grief to grace. Lucas taught me that, harshly. But Alex, he showed me home. Applause rippled. I squeezed his hand, pride swelling like tide. Betrayal transmuted, not fracture, but forge. Yet truth's last layer waited, buried in bureaucracy. A month later, coroner's report arrived, delayed by backlog. 'Cause suicide, as expected. But toxicology, traces of antidepressants, abandoned mid-course. And a note, overlooked, to Liam, the spark is the drive. Share it. Heal. The drive, my drive, with its videos and pleas. Lucas's final gift. Not destruction, but directive. Live louder. We donated it anonymously to the foundation, edited, empowering. No more ghosts. Summer solstice. We escaped to the Olympics. Tent pitched under stars. Fire crackling tales. Liam traced constellations, fingers lingering on my skin. Bet you I love you more. Deal, I murmured, pulling him down. Romance rekindled, not in grand gestures, but quiet flames. Autumn gilded Seattle in golds and crimsons, leaves carpeting the U District like forgotten confetti from summer's revels. Lighthouse Leap launched officially. A modest gala in a repurposed warehouse near the locks. Fairy lights strung amid exposed beams. Craft brews flowing from local queer brewers. I manned the bean bar, pouring fair trade pours with a wink. Caffeine for the soul, stronger than regret. Liam emceed, his architect's poise shining as he introduced speakers. A trans teen artist whose murals graced the walls. A therapist unpacking the closet's long shadow. The crowd, diverse as the city's pulse. Leather daddies, tech bros in subtle pins, elders with stories etched deep, leaned in when Liam shared. We built this from rubble, he said, glancing my way. A jump that could have ended us became a ladder up. Applause thundered. Donations poured in. Enough for a hotline van, mobile and merciful. After, as guests milled, Ellen approached, solo, radiant in a midi dress, her daughter's photo peeking from a locket. Proud of you both, she said, hugging Liam fierce. Lucas would've. Well, he'd have crashed it with drama. But this, beautiful, we toasted with IPAs, her laugh loosening the last knots. She'd moved west, sublet in Fremont, chasing freelance edits. New chapter, she quipped. Blame your city, it's contagious. Contagious, the word fit. Our life, once quarantined by grief, spread tendrils of hope. But under the high, conflict simmered, a final betrayal, self-inflicted. Liam's firm hit a snag. The condo project's lead investor, a conservative developer from Bellevue, caught wind of the foundation. Too political, he sneered in a boardroom call Liam recounted over late-night tacos. Queer focus? Clients bolt. Liam raged, pacing our deck as ferries cut wakes below. Years of my life in those plans, green, inclusive. For what? To kowtow? I rubbed his shoulders, knots like barnacles. Fight it. Or walk. You're more than blueprints. He did, pitched a counter, tie-in donation, lighthouse branding on the lobby mural. Investor balked. Liam quit, tendering resignation by dawn's light. Screw it, he declared, tossing the hard hat into Lake Union from the public dock, ripples mocking the splash. Time for my own firm. Queer-led. From jump. The word, once dirge, now mantra. I backed him, co-signed the lease on a shared space in Pioneer Square, historic bricks echoing with potential. First client, the center, redesigning their atrium for flow and light. Freedom tasted like salt spray. We celebrated with a road trip, crisscrossing the Cascades, cabin in Leavenworth's faux Bavarian charm, mulled wine by the hearth. There, under quilted covers, Liam confessed deeper fears. What if I'm broken? What if Lucas's chaos wired me wrong? I traced his scars, invisible, etched by abandonment. Broken things mend stronger. Kintsugi, remember, gold in the cracks. He kissed me then, slow as sap rising, bodies mapping familiar coasts. No rush, just reclamation, love as verb, active and alive. Back in the drizzle, momentum built. The firm, Harbor Designs, landed gigs, eco-lofts for trans families, community hubs in the CD. I expanded the roastery, pop-up at markets, beans named Resilience Roast. Life synced, rhythms like jazz from late-night clubs on Capitol Hill. But October circled back, anniversary of the jump. We marked it privately, hike to Discovery Park's lighthouse, Real One, beams sweeping Elliott Bay. At the base, we scattered petals, cherry blossoms, dried from our wedding bouquet. To Lucas, Liam said, voice steady. May your spark light others. Wind whipped, waves crashed below. I pulled him close, hearts hammering tandem. And to us, unshattered, yet the past, pertinacious, lobbed one last grenade. A letter from Lucas's estate, final dispersal. Not cash, but artifacts, his old Hasselblad camera, lens cracked but keen, a stack of undeveloped film. For the lighthouse, the note read, from his sister. He always said you two saw the world clearest. We developed the roles at a lab in Georgetown, analog magic in digital days. Prince emerged, Seattle unseen. Lucas's eye, derelict piers at golden hour, drag queens mid-twirl on pike, lovers, not us, tangled on park benches. And one, candid of Liam, college era, laughing at a bonfire, Lucas's shadow in the frame. It's art, I breathed, pinning them to our studio wall, Liam's new office, overlooking the square's cobblestones. It's absolution. He framed the bonfire shot, hung it by our bed. Proof he saw beauty, even in pain. November elections loomed. Prop whatever the hell threatening queer youth services. We canvassed, door to door in Rainier Valley, clipboards in hand, stories as ammo. My husband lost a friend to the bridge, I'd say. Eyes locking. Don't let cuts push more over edges. Voters nodded. Signed. One elder, faded rainbow flag on his porch, gripped my arm. Fought for this in 76. Keep fighting. We did victory party at a dive bar. Shots of Jägermeister toasting tallies. Liam, buzzed and bold, proposed anew on the sticky floor. Marry me again? Make it official. Post everything. Laughter bubbled. I yanked him down for a kiss. Cheers erupting. Every day. USAP. Winter solstice brought snow. Proper. Sticking, transforming Seattle to hush. We hosted solstice supper. Friends around our table. Laden with Dungeness crab. Storytelling under beeswax candles. Tales wove. Losses to leaps. Betrayals to bonds. Ellen came, toasting with us. Dan, now board member for Leap, cracked jokes dry as gin. As plates cleared, Liam stood, glass raised. To truths that shatter, and the healing that follows. Glasses clinked. Eyes met mine. Love unfiltered. But in the quiet after, as snow feathered windows, a call pierced, unknown number. Liam answered, face draining. It's the investor. He wants back in full funding, but with strings. Drop the queer angle, climax redux, temptation's hook. Power for compromise. Liam's jaw set. Tell him no. We're building harbors, not cages. He hung up, turned to me. Ready for the long haul? Always. We stepped into the storm. Flakes melting on skin. Hands linked against the cold. The year turned, resilient as evergreens. New Year's dawned crisp. The sound a mirror to mountains capped white. We ushered it on Alki Beach. Bonfire crackling with driftwood gathered at low tide. Waves lapping like applause. Friends scattered, some to brunches, others to hangovers, but Liam and I lingered, toes in surf, watching gulls wheel. Resolutions? He asked, arm around my waist, chill nipping. More you, I said, nuzzling his neck. Less ghosts, he chuckled, low and warm. Deal. And I'll build us a treehouse, backyard fort, kid-proof for future fosters. Fosters. The word, floated months back in therapy, solidified now. Queer dads, giving back starting small, weekends with teens from the center, teaching hikes and hope. Fit, this vision, our Victorian, once shadowed, blooming into haven. January's gray-tested resolve. Harbor Designs hit growing pains. First big bid. A queer arts center in Soto. Blueprints sprawling across our dining table. Liam burned midnight oil. Coffee rings marking drafts like battle scars. I'd rub his neck, murmuring, genius at work, stealing kisses amid eraser shavings. The roastery thrived too, partnership with Leap. Proceeds to the hotline. I sourced a blend. Phoenix pour. Notes of smoke and rebirth. Customers raved. One, a barista from my old shop, confessed, your story saved my brother. Called the line after reading the article. Ripple effects. Lucas's spark. Amplified. February brought Valentine's low-key. Our style. Picnic in the Arboretum. Thermoses of Phoenix. Chocolate from Theo's. Under magnolias shedding petals like snow. Liam gifted a locket. Inside, our wedding photo and the bonfire print. Past and present, he said. All one chain. I gave sketches, amateur, but earnest, of us as dads. Stick figure family. Rainbow scribbles. He teared up, pulling me into the grass. Perfect. Spring equinox aligned with the Arts Center groundbreaking. Hard hats. Shovels in salmon-rich soil. Mayor in tow for photo ops. Cameras flashed. Liam, mic in hand, quipped, "From bridges to builds, we're proof queers don't just survive. We shape skylines." Cheers erupted. I beamed from the sidelines, pride swelling. Ellen covered it for a local mag. Her byline sharp, "Healing in the horizontal. Seattle's queer architects." But mid-bloom, a shadow, Liam's physical faltered. Headaches, nagging, dismissed as stress. Sight dust, he'd wave off, popping ibuprofen like tic-tacs. I nagged doc visits. He promised, delayed. Mayday. During a foster orientation, paperwork piles in our living room, he collapsed. Mid-sentence on emergency contacts. Eyes rolling, body crumpling like a felled cedar. Our lights seared. Scans, pokes, the antiseptic tang of fear. Tumor, the neuro said, voice clinical. Benign, operable. But aggressive growth, stress accelerated it. Likely, world tilted. Liam, pale on starched sheets, gripped my hand. Irony. Huh? My head, full of blueprints, betrays me. I stroked his hair, voice steel. We'll blueprint this too. Surgery, recovery. Lighthouse strong. The weight gnawed. Pre-op haze. Friends rallying with casseroles and cards. Ellen flew in, bunking on our couch. Dan drove carpools. Group therapy shifted virtual. Voices a chorus, you're not alone. Surgery day. I paced halls scented with bleach and bad coffee. Flashbacks to the bridge, waiting, powerless. Hours stretched. Then, surgeon emerged, clean margins. He's asking for you. Liam, bandaged and groggy, managed a grin. Told ya. Tough as rebar. Recovery was slog. PT in rehab gyms overlooking the bay. His steps halting as ferries chugged. I read to him Walt Whitman, Leaves of Grass, Verses of Body Electric. Camerado. This is no book. Eyed in tone. Lacing fingers. Who touches this touches a man. He healed. Stubborn as Seattle rain. By July, he walked unassisted. August. Back to sketches, bedside easel. Designs flowing freer. Infused with fragility's grace. Foster placement arrived fall. 2 brothers, 12 and 14. From the system, Javier and Mateo. Wide-eyed at our madrona-shaded yard. Treehouse soon, Liam promised. Ruffling hair. They bloomed, bikes on the trail, soccer in the park, bedtime stories of architects and baristas who built worlds from whispers. Betrayal's echoes, faint now, lessons learned. Lucas's journal, revisited, revealed not malice, but mirror, his chaos warned our calm. We honored him yearly, Leap Gala, a toast to sparks that endure. Thanksgiving. Table groaned under turkey from a local farm. Sides from friends' recipes. Javier carved. Mateo led grace. For family found. Liam caught my eye across chaos. Mouthed love you. Winter wrapped us. Lights on the treehouse. Finally built. Rope ladder swaying. New Year's again. Beach bonfire. Boys bundled beside. Fire popped. Stars wheeled. To healing, Liam said. Arm around me, boys leaning in. Not perfect. Life's cracks gilded with gold. Not glass. But ours? A mosaic. Queer and quintessentially American. Resilient. Romantic. Raw. We walked home through snow. Linked. The city ours. Bridges crossed. Truths told. Love the ultimate structure.